a little special today. And so I don't know if Tim Lim can make it today. I didn't really ask. I just shot him the link anyway. But if he can, he's definitely welcome to join. But I wanted to do something special because we have a couple days left on my Kickstarter campaign. And I want to show people how to craft a compelling comic story. And I believe we can get this done in one stream to make something. I can't do a full script in one stream, but I can make the story of which a script would be based upon in one stream. So if you're just joining me, welcome. I am John De La Rose, the creator of Flying Sparks and of Justified, Saga of the Known Templar. I'm a #1 best-selling author, award-winning author, Dragon Award nominated author. I do all the things. So this is kind of a little look into the process of my writing and to show you what a comic story should look like, because I think that really the art of comic storytelling has been lost pretty badly in the last couple decades. If you look at people are really writing towards this like 6-issue graphic novel that has to be 6 issues no matter what. And we always have a problem that, you know, in issues 3, 4, 5 in there, they really decompress everything. And so you lose a lot of story element because they just, they get into that action spot and then they just tell the artist, you know, just draw some action for like 10 pages. And that seems to happen. And then you just plow through that book and nothing really develops in those middle chapters of those stories. And so you get stories that are very bloated. You get stories that, you know, maybe they have a compelling beginning, they peter out towards the end. You always have a problem with it from the storytelling craft standpoint. And I feel I'm incumbent to fix that. That's kind of what I've been doing for a while on here. If you paid any attention, by the way, hit that like button. Hey, Rizzy, welcome. Hit the like button, hit the share button. Please share it with your friends because I want to show people how to do this. I'm gonna craft a story completely from scratch. I have not put any pre-thought into this. I literally came up with this concept for the stream about 10 minutes ago because I was looking at a review of another comic book where it looked like there were some just basic storytelling elements lacking. And so this is my hey, Peter, how are you? You do peter out all the time, Peter. That's true. Hey, Lorenzo. Hey, Dan, welcome. Hit all that stuff. Yeah. So, and then, you know, hit that heart button on Periscope because it gets the algorithm going for people showing. But yeah, I find it incumbent upon myself to fix the industry. And that's what I'm doing with Flying Sparks here. This is volume 3. We got 4 days left to go. We're just over the 12,500 mark. I have officially broken even. That is my break even point for Flying Sparks. So this has covered all the costs at this point. Everything from this point is actually just paying me for my work. So if you want me to get paid for my work, definitely back the project because it's a pain in the ass to make comics and it takes a lot of work. It really does. All right. So storytelling. So first off, you want in a comic medium, you're trying to develop a serial for the most part. You might be developing a single graphic novel story. I work on trying to make serial projects so that I can keep continuing these if there is somebody who wants to keep buying the book. Flying Sparks. Hey, Christy. Hey, Bianca. Well, welcome, by the way. For Flying Sparks, I definitely created it with a serial in mind, and I wanted to build a large overarching arc, just like you'd read back in the old school, like Amazing Spider-Man. Like, you know, if you're reading Roger Stern's story and you see, you know, the Hobgoblin and how that built and how he just like slowly built the tension of that over several issues, but yet each issue still had its own storyline to it. Even if he just threw a panel in there about the Hobgoblin and it was about something else completely, you had that building arc going on, but each issue had its own beginning, middle, and end, a real story to it, a conclusion to it, and you want to develop that. I think if you're developing a single graphic novel, obviously you don't need to work as hard on this like overarching element like I do with Flying Sparks. So Flying Sparks, there's a big conspiracy going on in the background, which is building up, and I've been hinting towards it. It revolves around the character Peter Buxton, and there's another layer to that revolving around that alien ruby that they found in issue #1. So those two elements keep compounding every issue until and they may not be the central focus of an issue. Like maybe Metagirl's off doing something else for an issue, or maybe Johnny's off going and fighting some gang war for an issue or something like that. But those are the main elements that are building over the course of it. And so I've got that combination of the main story arc going on plus the individual issues. So that's what we'll aim to create. All right, so I've already got superhero books, so I'm not going to work on creating a superhero book right now. Between Flying Sparks and Dynamite Thor and the Cosmic Warrior, my 3 superhero books, and I maybe even Pistol Whipped if I get back to that. There will be I'll have a line of 3 superhero books. So I want to do something different, and I probably want to do something that plays off my base, because with this new Justified book success, people are loving my Crusa dash fiction, which is our term for real Christian fiction that's actually badass fiction, and not your mom's bonnet fiction, Christian fiction. We're making Christian fiction great again. All right. And yes, I definitely put hidden things that I find on rereading. I usually drop that kind of stuff, Drake, which was the question here. I usually drop that kind of stuff into the second draft of things, because once I already have things scripted, then I go back and go, okay, I can layer this in here, and it'll be very cool. So you'll see, actually in my next book, the Iron Wedding, which will be my next novel. There's actually an element of the Iron Emperor and his mannerisms that you'll read throughout the course of the book, and he's doing something with his mannerisms. I'm not going to spoil it throughout the course of the book. I actually developed that mannerism, that little tick that he's got, at the end of the book, and I realized I did it, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And so what I did is I made a note that I wanted to layer that back through the book as it was going on. All right, so we got some people watching now. So I'm going to switch from my campaign screen. Please back the book if you haven't already. I mean, obviously, that's why I'm doing this type of stuff, is to help highlight the book, Flying Sparks, and hope that people will get in on this continuing story, which is, this is the real replacement for, your SJW Spider-Man or SJW Batman. I've done it. I've got it going. This is the future. So back. All right. So here is my Word doc. We started out with nothing. And so we're gonna do some concepts, and so since we like our crucifixion, our immediate concept, we're going to just be like Deus Vult. Okay, so we want Deus Vult in our story, right? That's going to be pretty good. And yes, the Iron Wedding is a play on the Red Wedding, except for mine's better. So yeah. So all right, my audience is going to want a Deus Vult book, and I know this, so I'm going to make a Deus Vult comic book, right? So what am I going to do? I'm not going to do another allegorical space thing where it's space crusading aliens fighting space Muslim aliens, because I've already got that. I guess I could adapt that, but I don't need to do that. If I'm going to be creating a comic from scratch, I want to do something different. So what do we got? So let's think about Deus Vult for a second. I can do a straight historical, storming the Crusades or whatever, but that, I don't know. I'm a sci-fi writer, so I got to add some sort of science fiction element. So we'll have a crusader, right? We want a crusader, probably a knight of some sort. And what do we got? All right. I'll make my crusader. I want a Spanish crusader, because I like the whole Reconquista theme, right? Like I like El Cid. I like, it's my heritage as the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction, after all. So we're going to go from there. So let me pull up a map of Spain. Let me see if it gives me any ideas here. Maps.google.com. All right. So Spain. All right. I'm zooming in on the map here. The problem with StreamYard is that, to switch from like applications, I gotta like go like this. Okay, so we got Spain. El Cid and all that was in the north, up in here, and the Muslims had most of Spain under their control. And what do we got here? So we've got what topography do we have? I like mountains. Mountains are fun. All right, so let's set something in the mountains right here. So let's set in the Pyrenees right here. All right, so we're gonna set in the Pyrenees Mountains. Set Pyrenees Mountains. And what could be fun? I want to make this fun. I don't want this like to be like a slog to read. Yeah, Bill Bell's great. That is a bad pun, too. All right, so we're gonna set this in the Pyrenees Mountain with a Spanish crusader. He's a knight, so we've got that so far, and that's gonna be our high concept. We're gonna be doing something, and what's fun? So let's do something cool. Let's add some science fiction element. How are we gonna get aliens into this or whatever? What does C.S. Lewis do? Right. So C.S. Lewis has his Narnia, right? And the kids like go into this like wardrobe thing and they end up in another world. I like that. Let's transportation to another world. Let's do that with our Crusader Knight. Okay. So so he's gonna be in the Pyrenees Mountains, and he's gonna be struggling, and he's gonna transport to another world. That's what we're going to go on here. So why would he be up in the Pyrenees Mountains, like toiling all this, and what's going to go on, and how does he get separated from his people? All right, so we'll have to come up with a backstory to that eventually. I probably don't need to come up with that right now. But either way, he's out in the Pyrenees Mountains. Let's add some fun Arthurian shit to it, and let's say he's searching for the Holy Grail. Searching for the Holy Grail. Yeah, that's fun. And then he gets transported to another world, and in that world, let's just say it's inhabited by obviously alien creatures that he perceives as demons. He perceives as demons, and as he shows up there, let's say he still thinks he's still searching for the Grail, thinking this is some sort of mystical quest or something like that. When he's really transported to another world, and he's searching for the Grail in this other world at this point. Let's say he got some information that it was up in these mountains, and then he obviously discovered this. This must be God's plan for him to have discovered this. So we've got this. We've got a pretty good story for Deus Vult and searching for the Holy Grail. Pretty good. So he's returning home from the Crusades. There you go. Maybe his unit died. He's been through some tough battles, and that's where we got right now. That's pretty good. Okay. So we're searching for the Holy Grail on another world, and we got our Crusader Knight. So we're gonna have to eventually world build this other world, which I don't know. I'll world build probably after I come up with the basic structure of it and go back and do the world building. So let's come up with the structure. So I like doing 3-issue graphic novels, and I like having each issue have a beginning, middle, and end for their own thing. And then I like having, I think it's very important to have each issue do that. I'll probably never release as actual issues, but I like having the option. Like if somebody wants to pick this up, publish it or whatever, I would like having the option of being able to release issues and then release that graphic novel. I think that's useful. So we're going to probably break it down into 22-page issues. 3 22-page issues is going to be the plan, which means I need a 3-part story arc, with the story arc itself having a beginning, middle, and end, but also leaving something for a sequel if we feel like, if this is successful and we feel like doing this, right? I try not to close things off. Like I said, I'm trying for comics especially. I really want to build something serial that you can just keep going with. That is the staple of what comic books were, and we want to continue that. So we'll have a story where he's searching for the Holy Grail. And I think at the end of it, I want him to find the Holy Grail. So he, completes his quest. So in issue 3, finds the Holy Grail, completes quest. But he doesn't know maybe he doesn't know what to do with it, or maybe there's more to it. So we'll be in this alien world. So issue 1, we're gonna have to he'll be traveling home from the Crusades, has a vision, wants to find the Grail to bring, bring morale to his people back home, and a sign from God that they're on the right path or whatnot, because that's the Crusaders were big into that. There was a they had a like holy sepulcher and they actually developed a church around that. And they said that was the actual spear that pierced Christ, and they believe that was it. I don't know if it was it or not. And then the Muslims actually sacked it, and they spent actually a good amount of time trying to get that back, because that was a huge morale boost for the troops, having that relic there to help them. It was a sign that their cause was just, and that they were on the right path for them. So this is good crusading history. Definitely something that might have happened with this sort of stuff. And then so he's traveling home. He gets caught in a blizzard, because blizzards are fun. And it makes him have to seek shelter. He finds a cave, gets drawn inside by some music or something, and ends up and gets transported to another world. All right. So, where somebody might want to end the issue 1 right here, I don't think this is a compelling enough of an issue 1 to hook you at this point. I think this is like my first few pages. You need more story than this, in my opinion. This is the problem with comics lately. You'll need more story than just this to get you through a good single issue. So a lot of people would leave this and set up here. I mean, I've seen whole graphic novels that this point 1 here that I just developed, it would be the entire graphic novel. It's just like the setup happens and then it just ends. And I feel like that's very unfulfilling as a reader. I feel like I would be gypped. I would feel like I was gypped out of my dollars if I bought that book. I'd be very upset by that. And that's not compelling storytelling whatsoever. That is just the setup. That is just like the intro. This is the teaser of the episode of a TV show. Even if we're talking an episodic TV show, this is just the teaser. You need way more story than that in order to deal with that. Drawn in by a siren. I like that. Drawn in by a siren. A siren. All right. We'll add that in there. See, we're crowdsourcing this. Thank you, Rizzy. All right. The Grail was taken to England by Joseph Arimathea. Was it, though? I don't know. Might have got lost in the Pyrenees Mountains, and then demonic aliens took it to their homeworld. You don't know. So it's possible. Especially if he was on his way to England. I mean, he might have traveled down that path or whatever too. That would have worked. Okay. So they're taken to another world, or maybe after England, like somebody found it and tried to remove it. I don't know. I'm not going to get that deep into the minutiae of this, because this is a comic book. All right, the minutiae is not the deal. The epic storytelling is fun. All right, so he gets drawn in by a siren. Eventually, the siren tries to suck his blood or something. Siren tries to suck his blood, and then he'll get a sidekick in this alien world. We'll say he's got like a sidekick, animal type creature. Will come and break the siren spell so the Crusader can kill the siren. The Crusader is scared of all this stuff, thinking he's surrounded by demons, including his new friend, but the animal creature. So here's the deal. Here's a theme I want to put into this, guys. I want to add a little Catgirl. Yeah, Catgirl's great. Thank you. By the Catgirl. Okay. So the Catgirl, of course, is going to be pure and holy and all that. So this is what we're going to do. I want to add in some thematic elements that add to the Christianity layers to it. And we're gonna work on this right now. So one of the things I'm talking about with Ivan Throne, because we're going to be writing a space opera novel tomorrow, is that a large portion, if you read Genesis, the portion of a big part of what you read there, it's really about, especially in those first chapters, man is given dominion over the earth. All the animals are subservient to man. And of course, this goes into the Noah story too. Like all the animals they follow Noah's lead. Noah has dominion over them. He's the caretaker over them. And so the animals would be necessarily see us Animals are always afraid of us. They fear us because they know that we have something they don't in our consciousness. And what that thing that we have is that we are created in the image of God. So the cat girl understands he's created in the image of God, and he is someone to serve. She kneels before him, and he accepts her service, but only as a vessel of the true God, Jesus Christ. All right. So she becomes a squire in essence at this point, right? And then she leads him into the world, leads him into this world, and it turns out there is a whole race of cat people, because they're not all going to be cat girls, but we're going to have multiple cat girls because we don't just want one. And they are enslaved by some demonic overlord who rules this realm. Okay. So this is so this is what we're going to find. We're going to have then we're going to cut to the demon beings. Demon overlord sends out a champion because he senses a disturbance, and the champion comes upon our crusader. We have a epic sword fight and magic fight. The demon's magic is repelled by the crusader's faith, and he slays the demon. The cat people demand he rescue them from the demonic overlord, but the crusader is on a holy quest. He must keep moving and find the holy cup, because that is what God asked him to do. He sets out, and the cat girl goes with him. Cut to demon again, and we see the demon drinking human blood from a golden chalice. The end. All right, so you see what I did here. All right, this is I totally just came up with this right away. This is the first issue, right? So I'm going to be doing a graphic novel with 3 issues, so that's why I put the cliffhanger in there. All right. And you also had a full story though. All right. So you didn't just, I could have made this a whole graphic novel, right? Very easily can turn this into an entire graphic novel, but that's not, I would feel cheated because I just feel like it just got started and not much has happened if I was reading a graphic novel at this point. So this is the first issue. Issue 3 will then be some sort of like fights demon overlord and then finds Grail. Issue 2 will be like a setback. It's Empire Strikes Back, right? So Crusader realizes the limits of his power. He the demon overlord executes cat people, and the Crusader must swoop in and defend. He rescues some, they flee, take heavy losses, but a big battle where they at least get out and survive. All right. So now we have an arc of 3 issues, right? No problem right there. And if you see this, like right now, I'm not detailing these out because as I script this, there's going to be details that come out in my world building and all that, which are going to impact these 2 issues. So I can't really build them in as much detail as I want to build this first part right here. So we've got a first issue. Like I said, I could make this an entire graphic novel if I wanted to, but I feel like I can get all this this done in one issue. I feel like this is enough story that it's like really juicy, and then it'll make everybody want to read the next issue, which is the whole point if we get into issues and things like that. All right, so we have this, and like I said, you'll find that most modern graphic novels will end up like right here, and this is all you'll get out of the entire graphic novel is just this, and they'll be making this like 8 graphic novel thing or whatever, and that's it. They decompress these stories out way too much. That is a failure in comic book storytelling. That is not giving readers the bang for their buck. It's really saying, hey, I just completed a portion of a story. I didn't even try. And that is the problem that we have in modern comic storytelling. I want to give everybody more than that. And that's why you see like, so Flying Sparks, issue 1 has a lot of setup to it. It's got a lot of stuff going on, but it's got its own internal plot also, where, it's got Chloe, learning how to be a superhero, and then second guessing Johnny. And then there's the relationship part at the end where they get back together. Johnny gets caught in a trap by a bad guy, has to use his powers, goes into a darker area, and then has a fight and escapes in the end. So there is a full story there, and that's what this feels like. This issue feels like a full story because he actually does something. That the hero has to, you have to set up everything. Then the hero has to have a conflict, and then the hero has to accomplish something. And if that doesn't happen, you don't have a story, or at least not a good story. So that's it. This is how I do it. This is how I would start a graphic novel right here. My next step in this would be to break down this issue 1 into 2 3-page chunks. And this is what I call my outline. So I probably would, I probably at this point would sit on this for a couple days. I mean, for the sake of the stream, I guess I'll keep going. But in general, I'd sit on this for a couple days so I could really think about the world building and really think about what's going on. And I want something bigger because I want to be able to open this into a series of graphic novels if it makes money, right? So if that happens, obviously this demon overlord of this one realm is not going to be the end boss. He's just going to be a boss, right? And then we're going to have some other demons, and then we're probably going to have like a greater demon or Satan or an evil prophet or the Antichrist or something like that at the very, very end if this got bigger. But there is enough that if you find, the whole concept was you wanted to find the Holy Grail, and if you did that, and then it didn't sell or whatever, you still have a complete story, right? So this complete story would feel fulfilling, and we could end it there. We don't have to continue on. So that's the art of creating the serial storytelling, is like you have to have that bigger picture in mind if you want it to continue and go. But you have to tell that complete story to give the audience something really to grip onto. So I have a full story in each issue here of the graphic novel. There's going to be a start, middle, and finish to each issue. And I'm and I think this is pretty compelling. Like, I think this would be a very I'm talking about this in forms of comics, but you can take this and use it for writing a novel, or writing a short story, or writing a screenplay. It's the same thing. If you wrote a say you're writing an episodic Netflix show or whatever. I just wrote a 3-episode episodic Netflix show too, right? It could be the same thing. But each episode will give somebody a beginning, middle, and end. It's not just going to be a start, stop. And yes, I put the cliffhanger in there to draw you to the next one. And I probably will end with a little bit of a cliffhanger thing about like what the Grail is. Is it even really the Grail? We don't know when I do this, but you need that. This is so important to writing. And I really want to hammer that home right now, because I've just seen so much in terms of comics these last decades that's so disappointing when you just get these little snippet portions of stories where they really don't even, I don't know. I feel like they don't even try to give you a full story in an issue anymore. And I think that's messed up. I think it's disrespectful to the audience. And what it tells me is when they're writing that way, they're writing the graphic novel with the intention of having that full graphic novel, not just be a storyboard for one movie, right? Because they want their they're not writing for the comic or for the comic reader at that point. They're writing for the movie in hopes that somebody picks up the option for the movie, buys the option for the movie, and that they just see this as a storyboard and then they give them some money for it. So they don't need to write a full story in that first issue because that first issue is just going to be the opening of a movie. It's not meant to be a full story. And so when they do that, they're not writing for the comic reader. It's totally disrespectful for the audience. And I don't want to write that way. I want to write in a way that the audience is engaged, that they really get a good feel of something, and that they want to continue on to the next one. That's the whole point. And yes, too many artists, not enough good writers. That's very true. Yeah, it's very. I really firmly believe you could have top tier, and I've seen it. You can have top tier art on something, but if the story's trash, it's just useless. You can have Alex Ross doing beautiful painted stuff, but if there's no story to it, you don't have a comic book. You just have a series of pinups by Alex Ross, right? So that's why we want to. That's why we want to focus on the writing and show people how to do it right here. And that's it. And I have typos. I don't care about typos in my. I do on the comic page, but in this stuff, I'm just. These are just for my notes. Just so we have that. And I'm going to save this. I mean, this is a pretty compelling story. I could make this, and I like having the ideas around so that I can just get to scripting. All right, part 2 of the script. I'm going to break down the single issue. I might not do the whole thing just because I don't, I'm tired and I don't know if I want to do that right now. But what I do next is I go issue 1, and then here's my outline. 1, which will be pages 1 to 3, is Crusader Knight. Who's a good Spanish Crusader name? Spanish. I should make a name at this point, just so I really can visualize this. Spanish Crusader, famous Spanish Crusaders. Let's grab a name. We have. I don't want conquistadors. I want Crusaders. We have El Cid. So Rodrigo Diaz is a good one. So we can probably change that or kind of mess around with that. It's pretty good. Let's see. Reverter de la Guardia was a 12th century knight from Barcelona, one of the most foremost warriors of the period. Let's see. In 1126, he spent a decade of captivity before being offered to serve in a Muslim army against the Almohads. He agreed to provide a formidable warrior between the 2 Muslim armies, and he led one army. That's not somebody I care about. All right. I don't know. Let's just call the guy Rodrigo, because Crusader Knight Rodrigo. I like that. Is in the Pyrenees Mountains. A blizzard happens. He sees a vision of the Grail and gets drawn into a cave where he hears a siren and gets further drawn into a warp field, which transports him to another world. All right, so that's what I got for my. You see how I break this down into pages at this point. So I know I'm going to be doing this for like 3 pages at this point. So pages 4, 5. The siren tries to drink his blood, and we see the cat girl. What's a good name for a cat girl? Do we have a good name for a cat girl? Who's in here? We had let's say we had Christy in here. So let's twist on Christy. Cat girl, Christe. There you go. All right. So that now you're a cat girl in this story. All right. Who snaps him from his reverie and allows him to slay the siren. Pages 6 and 7 will then be cat girl follows him. He wants her to go away, but he presses her into service as squire. When she confesses, she understands he is created in God's image and is serving a higher purpose. Page 8 will probably be Demon Lord, and maybe let's do 8 and 9 actually. Demon Lord and his champion senses something through some scrying crystal ball magic, sees Rodrigo, and sends the champion to slay this man who shouldn't be in his kingdom. All right, pages 10, 11. We see the town of the cat people. They're under oppressed and working minds for the demons. And Rodrigo saves some cat people from being whipped by demons. Mini fight. Page 12, 13. So I do like 2 or 3 page what I want to take away is I like to do 2-3 page increments because that feels like a good beat for a comic, right? And then it ends up working pretty good. All right, let's see, where are we right now in this? We are all right. Page 12, 13. Rodrigo is brought into a home or inn where he learns from a cat elder that they are oppressed and held down by demons. He wants to help. He wants Rodrigo's help because Rodrigo, but Rodrigo needs to go seek the Grail. Page 14 will be demon champion kills some cat person looking for info to find Rodrigo. Page 15 will be Rodrigo setting out. The cat people help him, give him a horse, but what's her name? Christe goes with him. All right. Page 16 through 18 will be, let's see, will be demon shows up. Demon has, I don't know, kills more cat people, comes into Rodrigo, just left and missed it. Let's see that 16, 17, actually, that's gonna be too much. And then page 18 through 21. Page 18 will be Rodrigo gets convinced by Christe to go back and show Christian charity and sideline his quest to help people. That's what God's love is all about. I like that. That's a good thematic thing. So 19 to 21, we have demon fight. Yeah. And then page 22, we'll have the demon overlord is shown drinking blood from his chalice. This enemy of his is strong. He won't underestimate him again. Mwahaha. To be continued. Okay, so that's how I break down. That's how I break down an issue, basically. So you have it, 1 to 3 page increments. I mean, if I have a real knockdown, drag out fight, sometimes I just make that like 5 or 6 pages, and that's it. So I've got it broken down. So when you do it this way, you ensure the pacing stays on. Like here's a beat, like every couple pages is a beat. So just like it really keeps pushing the plot line forward throughout things, and that's the whole intention of this deal right here, and that's the whole breakdown. And then from there, what I do is I break it down into pages, and so I'll actually go, page 1, panel 1, establishing shot of the Pyrenees Mountains. Like I'll go from there, right? I'm not going to do that because that's really boring to break down from there. But you see how I start with an idea, I refine the idea and I get it kind of laid out. Then I refine it again so that the idea is going to be broken down into beats that are very much on pace. This is how everybody always talks about my pacing and my stories being very good. This is how I get that pacing that you guys all love. And then I break it down to the individual panels for the artist. So by the time I get to here, I might even have the artist do some concept drawings. Concept drawings and things like that before getting into the actual page writing. That way I can visualize it a little better, see what my artist's strengths are, and kind of visualize the whole background and world building a little bit better before I get to this part, because that's once you got it all scripted, it's kind of a different ballgame. That's it. That's how you can create a compelling story. This is the process of everybody has isn't going to be the same, but the point is that you want to give readers a whole story in an issue, and you want readers to have their value in an issue to be able to read to the next issue. And in a 3-issue graphic novel, I love that art, because you've got the three act sort of arc here, which is very nice. We have our opening act, then we have our big complication, and then we have our epic conclusion. It works out very nicely in that regard. Now, for Flying Sparks, do I do that as much? I don't know that I didn't really draft that in 3-issue beats for the first 3 volumes. My original vision of Flying Sparks was to have this as issues coming out monthly that would be ongoing. So unlike this one, which I am, and my newer ones pretty much, which are drafted like this, because I know I'm going to be coming out with these type of graphic novel volumes at this point, and I want these all to have their own internal arcs, as the 3 issues, plus, each issue has its own internal arc, plus there's a big overarching arc. I draft them a little different now. So you'll see volume 4, when we get to volume 4 of Flying Sparks, that it definitely flows more like those 3 issues are one unit than say, volume 1 did. So that's I try to create a compelling, each chapter has its own story. Each graphic novel has its own story. Then the bigger story will have a much bigger story also. And then that hopefully works out. That's it. So that's me coming up with a story from scratch, just sitting here. I'll have to revise some stuff, of course, but that's what it looks like. So are there any questions before I sign off? I know I'm not exactly at an hour yet. And I know I stay on here an hour, but I definitely want to help people out here. And that's the whole point of the stream. So is there any questions left before we get going? Otherwise, make sure to please back Flying Sparks. Flying Sparks is the comic that's going on right now. And it is going to be over in 4 days. This is volume 3. Boom, ba-doom. And we're at 12,574. But I'd like to get this up to at least the $15,000 number for the closing, so that we can get a beautiful pinup by Josh Howard, who we had on the stream last week. One of my favorite comic artists. We'll add that to the book, and just make it better. That's the whole deal. What inspires me to come up with story ideas? Let's see. I don't know. I think of story ideas all the time. So it's like every day I've got something. This is my real problem is I've got too many story ideas. So that's actually where comics is really good for me, because I can't write these novels fast enough. Otherwise I'm just like on to the next idea, and I'm like, man, I wish I could be working on that, which is, now I want to really write this graphic novel instead of the novel I'm working on, which is a bummer. So is what it is. As far as how would it look different for a novel, let me see if I can pull up one of my novel outlines for Steam and Country outline. I'll kind of show you what that looks like for a novel. This is 5 years ago, so this is my okay. Let's pull this up. This is the original for Steam and Country outline. So what I do for a novel is you see kind of this three. Okay, let me get back. This is kind of difficult to switch back and forth. You see this 3-part deal right here. I wouldn't label it 3 parts like this. I would either do 3 or 5 parts, and I would write out a couple paragraphs like this, just like we did before I did the issue breakdown of the outline. This would be my basic idea. And from there, I would expand it, and I break it down by chapter instead of by instead of by issue in page numbers. So yeah, so my outlines look like this for my novels. And as you see, I had 33 chapters planned on this one. Now I planned to hit them around novel length, which is going to be around like 60 to 80,000 words in there. And I know that usually I try to break it down into a chapter right here. So we've got Zara's world is shaken, literally, as an earthquake occurs at Zara's farm outside Plains Road Village. Zara rushes back into the house to ensure her ferret is okay. We meet Mr. Gentry, the neighbor who cares for Zara, and the father of her best friend, James. An attorney shows up at the house and tells her her father's will left her an inheritance. After determining he's safe, which I think she means the guy who shows up. So after determining the guy shows up is safe, she goes off in his steam car with him to go claim his inheritance. Zara learns her father was a great adventurer who knew King Maliki personally. So Zara, at this point, like my idea was to start out having an orphan farm girl who inherits an heirship. That was the entire idea premise of my deal. And so she's just out in the middle of nowhere. She's doing her thing, working on the farm. There's an earthquake, which comes into play later as important, but it doesn't seem important right now beyond just being an earthquake. And she learns of having an inherited heirship. So there's a whole story. This is a story of a chapter. Earthquake happens. She has to tend to her stuff. She then has to learn about this thing about her dead father. She doesn't know much about her dead father, so we're learning it, and she's learning the information at the same time. And then she has the call to action to go off on an adventure. So we immediately are moving things in the first chapter. So so I break it down by chapter, and I try to have like a plot beat move in each chapter. And that way, something happens, there's a cliffhanger typically for a next chapter. And I know each chapter of mine typically ends up anywhere between like 2,000 and 3,000 words. That's just how I write at this point. And so I know I'm going to need enough chapters to fill out a novel. So I make sure I have the beats like that. Now the novel outlines tend to get revised by me a little bit more than my comic outlines, because comics are pretty small and straightforward. And there's not that, there's not that many beats to it. So it's like a page is going to be a page. There's not much I can do in a page that's going to be different. Though for a novel, what ends up happening with my novels a lot is like, I get to this point and I realize, okay, I need to spend some time on some battle or something like that. And so what I'll do is I'll just add a chapter of a battle, and then get back into this and try to flow it back into this. So my novel outlines actually revise a little bit as I'm drafting things, because the stories end up being a lot bigger usually than what I originally started out as. I don't know, but yeah, I still start with that like 2 or 3 paragraph idea, and then I break it down by beat like this. So I think the comic I just proposed is probably not a big enough of an idea to fill out a whole novel. If I was filling out a whole novel, I would add in that extra layer I was talking about, where this was just one realm of many demon realms, and he has to fight off a bunch of them in order to really fulfill his quest, and then have the big boss fight be at the end. That's what I'd have if I were doing novel form, basically. Cool. All right, Alt Hero Volume 1 is good so far, improved a lot after the first volume. Yeah, the first issue, he was trying to just kind of figure out how to write comics and make comics. And once he got that down, they really were able to do things. Mutiny in Space, who's that by? I don't know who Mutiny in Space is. I have The Stars Entwined, still need to read it. Thank you for picking that up. Yeah, that's a series by The Stars Entwined. Okay. Yeah, that's yeah, I need to get back to that world at some point. I've got a huge world developed for that, like that crosses multiple book series. It's pretty ambitious, but well, yeah, it's getting there. My current sales. So I was kind of mad because the Stars Entwined originally, like, you know, I thought this was going to be my big one because I figured, okay, well, my steampunk is selling great, selling thousands of copies, and the Stars Entwined is a bigger genre as a space opera genre. So I figured, okay, this will just do great. And when it came out, it only moved like 500 units. So it kind of just went. We're actually getting to the point now. I think I sold my like 960th copy last week. So it is getting to the point where it's like almost over 1,000 units. And now I'm looking at it going, oh, well, there's 1,000 people who like this now. So maybe I will actually write a sequel. I don't know. But yeah, I've got that outlined, and I'm watching it. I'm going to work on probably. I got my super secret sword and sorcery project that I'm in the middle of right now that I want to finish, and then I probably should write like Justified 4 because those are selling so well, and then we'll do that. How do you do your audiobooks? They're great. I just met up there's a service called ACX. It's acx.com. And you put up a audition, and then people audition to read the audiobook. And I, went through 20, 30 auditions and found good people. So that's how I did that there. Now the Stars Entwined is going to be my night training audiobook guy. He's going to do the male portions of that. And then Moira Grayland, if you know who she is, she's going to be doing the female portions of that. So I'm very excited because this will be the first book I have on audio where, because I do these back and forth perspective chapters with different, with a male and female pretty often. So it's actually a pretty good production on the front that, like, the girl will read the girl parts and the guy will read the guy parts. It'll sound great. Rod Walker did Mutiny in Space. And I backed you as soon as I said the Sashi cover. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. I'm going to be, I think I've kind of run the course now of this stream. So I'll just give one more, please back Flying Sparks before it closes. Please tell your friends too. This is 100% the best superhero book out there right now. I guarantee that. This is what superhero books were supposed to be. This is what Chuck Dixon used to write when he was writing Robin and Nightwing and Batman. This is the style of storytelling you'll get. You saw my process, so every single chapter, every single issue inside this graphic novel is going to have its own story. The overall is going to be even bigger, and then the big overall, which is going to be 5 volumes at this point, is going to have like an uber epic conclusion. So yeah, you saw my process. That's it. Jethro on the art just keeps getting better every single issue. Every time I write, I get better. So I think you'll enjoy this. Thanks, guys. I hope that was helpful. And yeah, if you've got friends, especially who need to learn how to write, let them know. I want to help out, and I want to make everybody better. So I appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon. I think tomorrow we've got Russell May, science fiction writer, may be coming on. And tomorrow night I'll be on the RB. What's his name? Dylan. I'll be on a YouTube channel. His name's Dylan, the RCBG, and his YouTube channel is YouTube/The Real Mac Gamer. And his channel is called The Real Comic Book Gamer. So we'll be talking about Flying Sparks, trying to move some units there. And yeah, that guy's a good guy. So cool. Levy, welcome. All right. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks.